One. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 19 of the Kelly Berger podcast. I am Kelly Berger, who is in the Kelly Berger podcast and in my own Kelly Berger world. And today, like I said before, we are on episode 19, which I think this one's going to get very nice and clean. We're getting, this is 19 podcast, so I'm getting the hang of it. And our guest today is Atlanta. Are you in Atlanta?
Atlanta. Yep.
Yep, an Atlanta-based comedian, Trent Ludzack. Hey there, Trent.
Hey, Kelly. I think we're all living in your world, to be honest.
Yeah, that's the way it feels. Like I'm living my own Truman Show, so this could be the way reality is, as far as I know.
At least at this moment, it is. For sure, we know that.
Mm-hmm.
How you been? Are you in Austin still?
No, I moved out right after you came to visit.
Okay. Oh yeah, you were talking about that. I forgot. My bad.
Yep, we should talk about that. Like you came to visit Austin like a couple months ago in April, and that was
Yeah.
right before I moved out because of my bad job, bad finances, and bad situation.
Damn. But
Yep.
you're back in Minnesota?
Yep, central Minnesota right now.
Oh man, is there a scene in Central?
Not much, but I'll see if I can make one.
Yeah, build it. That's what you got to do.
Yeah, I have the experience to do it.
Yeah. I mean, good luck to you. I hope I never have to go back to Minnesota. That's my life goal is to never live there again. I hate the cold.
Yep.
I'm over it.
Yep. I want to ask you, like, right off the bat, like, what was your impression of Austin when you came to visit?
Dude, Austin's weird.
Yes.
My impression was that it's odd because like I didn't see the part of Austin that the Roe Jogan is talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I saw the open mic scene of Austin.
Yeah, and you go to the open mic scene of any scene, you're just gonna see like the sausage getting made, and it can get very ugly.
I was looking at all the homeless people around 6th Street, just like, are we any different?
Yeah, like sometimes when I was in Austin, like I looked at some homeless people, I was like, man, right now, like the only difference between me and him is like $200.
Yeah. Dude, there was a block. I remember like what over across like a block and a half up from the creek in the cave, I think, where it was just there was a block that nobody walked because there was just 25 homeless people chilling.
Yep, was that the underpass under 35W?
No, it was like the other way. It was towards 6th Street, but not so that's why you go down a block first.
Yeah. Yeah, trying to
because you can't go straight that way too far.
mm-hmm. You should have been there in like 2021 when I first moved down there. Like under the overpass, there was like straight up tent city.
Yeah, when it was on the news.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that what a weird. It's weird that it's just like a comedy scene that's been there and then just exploded.
Yeah.
And like I don't know. I don't like Kill Tony enough personally. Like it's not a show I like watching. So that's not really like on my map of like, oh, I gotta move there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, I'll visit. I know some people there.
Yep. Let's see. What didn't you like about Kill Tony? Was it just like you felt like the show is too mean, or does like it have like that promise of instant fame?
No, for me, it's that I think if you if you're not making a living in comedy
Mm-hmm.
and you're not seeing enough open micers on a weekly basis to be able to stomach Kill Tony sometimes, because sometimes it goes real bad.
Yep.
And that makes me uncomfortable. And that's not what I'm looking for in my podcasts. Like I'm trying to laugh the whole way through. I don't like that. Like every once in a while, I feel bad.
Yeah, but I think it's Kill Tony just shows like the mainstream, like what open mics are actually like. And if you sometimes like an open mic is like Kill Tony without the feedback.
Yeah, you can't deny how huge it is. And funny stuff definitely happens on there. I see clips all the time. But like that's just, I'm not willing to wade through the not great parts of the show
Yep.
on that format particularly.
And also like how the line is filled with comedy hobbyists.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't even sign up for Kill Tony when I was there. I signed up for the mothership open mic, didn't get on, and I was like, I signed up for Kill Tony once when I was at Skankfest,
Ooh,
didn't get on, and that would have been cool because David Tell was the guest.
nice. How was you were at Skankfest before? How was that?
Yeah, I went to I think the first one they did in Vegas. And it was fun, man. It was a crazy week because like there's always there was one show that was running continuously every day of the festival where like every comic hit that at least once. But it was just like one stage and it was in like an old theater, like movie theater converted. And it was just 15-minute sets back to back to back. You introduce the person after you, they introduce the person after them, and from it was it would run from like when it started, maybe like an hour into when the doors open until the end of the night
So it was like
every
a
day.
it was a 24-hour open mic or like
No, it wasn't an open mic. It was all of the comics on the festival were I think cycled through that on a set except for like the headliners.
oh
And that's like a festival with a lot of comics on it. So they had enough to do that. I think people did a couple sets. Uh I saw some awesome people on there. I saw like Dave Temple on that one. Um I saw Sam Talent on that stage.
nice.
Yeah, it was awesome. But then it was that, but then you'd also go into like the bigger shows or like the live podcasts or like Ari Shafir did a storytelling show, of course.
Do
All that stuff.
you remember Ari Shafir's story that he told?
On that one, I don't. No, not off the top of my head. What was it? I feel like I've heard Ari tell so many stories that they're all indistinguishable experiences to me.
Yeah, I remember when I saw Ari Shafir, I saw him perform his Juice special.
Oh, nice.
I saw him perform it twice. He took him like I think like 4 to 5 years to make that special.
Yeah.
Because I saw him perform it one time when I was living in Minneapolis. I saw him performing at House of Comedy at the Mall of America. And I saw him performing at Creek in the Cave in Austin.
Yeah. Cause the whole thing was like he'd been cooking it for like 3 years before the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And then the pandemic literally started like right before he was gonna record.
Yep.
And then he was like, well, I'm over this now. I can't do it. But then eventually came back and put another like year or two into it, right?
Yep. And then
Crazy.
I remember I saw him at Mall of America, and then that was right before his Kobe joke came out. So I kind of wanted to point out to family members, like, "Hey, I saw that guy."
Man, I'll throw out a Kobe joke from time to time.
Mm-hmm.
You gotta.
Yeah, but
Landing
unfortunately,
a
they don't always
landing a
land.
no, but landing a good Kobe joke, it's like hitting a good 3-pointer, ironically.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
I don't know. Maybe I'm insane.
Yeah, and you went around. You were able to come out to the dig in
Yeah, the
Austin.
dig was the first night I was in Austin because I was there for like 3 days. I was on my way back from a festival in like rural Texas.
Oh, where was that festival at?
Uh that was in it was the Wild West Comedy Fest. I don't remember the name of the town, which is not great. But it was in like uh a little like you could say park area of the town that was like old west themed. and the whole festival was just in an Old West themed town, which was it was a weird vibe, but no, it was fun. And I was like, well, I'm driving back to Georgia from the middle of Texas. I might as well swing by Austin for a few days. So I just like stopped in, and Corey was the first person, or one, you told me to hit up Corey.
Yep.
I hit him up. He didn't remember. He told me when I showed up, he was like, I didn't remember you because I didn't have the hair, I didn't have the beard.
Mm.
I was still like fresh out of the army and just like drinking way too much. But like he had to scroll back in my Instagram to see what I used to look like before he was like, oh yeah, this guy. And then he was like, sure, yeah, come to the mic on the night I drove in. Came by, did like 25 minutes, maybe 20 something. We were running long sets to nobody that night.
Yep, I remember. I remember my
Long,
long set that night, and you were there.
yeah, you did. I mean, you did in an ordinate amount of time,
Mm-hmm.
but you write like a monster.
Yep, it's daily habit.
You're right. Like I get in my head too much about like I'm having a lot of thoughts, but I'm not writing any of them down because they're not good enough. And I'm
Well,
trying to like wade through the garbage in my head to find something funny.
well, I got some good writing advice from Elizabeth Gilbert. She's the lady that wrote the book Eat, Pray, Love. She's also she has a lot of really good writing advice. And she gave me, I saw this little tidbit on her. She gave me she gave this really great advice. Her writing motto is like, done is better than good.
Yeah. Yeah, but I feel like I have over years figured out that I can't just write it all down because then I end up with pages for a line
Yep.
when I can spend the same amount of time thinking deeper into it and finding something close to the line in my head and then writing it out and being able to like work out the actual good wording for this.
It takes a lot of time, and I just view like Ryan is sort of like doing a flex at the gym. You just gotta keep flexing the muscle, and it gets becomes automatic, and then
Yeah. Well, and the best is when it just like a good silly just drops in your head,
mm-hmm.
like because it never happens when you're writing. I feel like the best like
Yes.
short one liner stuff I have ever written was like I was just somewhere. I was eating a burger.
Yes.
And then it came into my head and it was so good I had to stop eating the burger and I didn't ever have to write it down. I just know it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's why I always carry like a pen and paper on me. You just gotta capture the good jokes like a Pokemon in the wild.
Dude, I've switched to iPad, which is awesome because I have like the pencil thing.
Oh yeah.
So it feels pretty decent as far as like handwriting, but I can write on an infinite page
Oh.
because it never ends. You just keep scrolling and it keeps giving you more pages. I think I have like almost 200 pages on this iPad over the last like year or two of just like bullet point garbage, And then every once in a while there's a gem.
Yep.
Oh. So like when you say there's not much scene, like are you getting any stage time out there?
Let's see, out in central Minnesota right now.
Yeah.
Well, I go back and forth to Minneapolis and St. Cloud every now and then. Right now, I'm on what I would like to call a tactical retreat, where I'm just because right now I bottomed out a couple months ago because my job shut down, was flat broke, and my car got stolen.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Fuck. Yeah. When I saw you in Austin, it was really like you were having the roughest time,
Yeah.
which it looks like you're doing better. I'm glad to see that.
Yeah, I'm getting better. I just had I did a showcase last Friday in Minneapolis.
Nice.
Yep, but then guess what? Where it was at?
Uh
It
bro.
was it was at the terminal.
It was at the terminal. That's what I was gonna guess, but I was like, there's no way they're running showcases out of that place.
Yeah, I started running showcases at that place before I moved down to Austin.
That's one of I'd say that's one of two places that like I will describe to other comics when I'm like, oh, it's this kind of mic, and they're like, what do you mean by that? And I'm like, this kind. Let me tell you about this place in Minneapolis.
Yeah, that terminal, it's like the one mic that it's going through like hosts like dynasties. Like it changes. Like we had, I think you were there when Earl Elliott was running it, and
Yeah,
then it switched to Drew Haher, and then Evan
I
Wall.
I left early in the Drew era, I think.
Yeah. And then it really picked up during when Corey Nelson picked up. He ran that mic with like a live band in all of it.
Oh, that's what that mic needed, though.
Yep.
That dude, I remember the maybe the funniest part of the whole thing was that the men's room was right behind the stage.
Yes.
One time I took a shit in there. It was a brave endeavor, but I pulled it off.
Yeah. Did you use extra toilet paper just to wipe everything down?
Dude, I hovered. I was like a girl in there.
Mm-hmm.
And here's the thing, that's the scariest shit because that's like that door was not much of a door.
Mm-hmm.
There were some wide gaps, you could say. Like you could see half of someone's face through that door.
Oh, through the bathroom stall,
Yeah.
like you could be taking a shit and be giving someone at the urinal eye contact and saying like, "Hey, how you doing?"
Yeah, it was maybe not that bad, but like you're looking at somebody's back while they're pissing.
Mm-hmm.
And they know who you are. They know that you're the one that's shitting at Terminal Bar.
Yep.
That's really the fear. You don't, that's the thing is you don't want to be caught shitting in a place like that because people are like, oh, that guy's dirty as fuck. But you know, there's an emergency sometimes. Sometimes you ate too greasy of a burger before the open mic.
Yep. And now it's becoming like a popular showcase spot. Like it, I used to run a couple of showcases there that started to pick up, and then I was just at a showcase last Friday called Ladies Night with men.
Nice.
Yep. And I was one of the men. But you wouldn't know that by looking at the list.
Yeah.
So I got that good name Kelly.
Wait. So Terminal Bar has been like busy? Like people have been showing up for the mic or for the
Yep.
shows?
Yeah, it's really transformed over the years. It's goes from different hosts, and right now there's this new guy that's running the mic. I haven't met him yet. I'd like to see how Terminal turned out. Like now they have like a regular mic and then a roast mic later in the evening now.
Whoa. Terminal, I mean, if I ever have to go back to Minneapolis, I'll have to look up what day is it these days. Do you know?
Still Thursdays.
Still Thursday. Okay, so if I'm ever up there on a Thursday, I have to hit Terminal Bar because it's been so long.
Yep,
It's
and
been a long time since I bombed in a room that bad.
Yep, and it's Terminal is like the bar that's prepares. If you're in Minneapolis, that'll be the bar that'll prepare you for Austin.
Yeah, dude, Austin. It's crazy because it's fine as an out of towner because nobody knows your jokes. If you're there for a while, I imagine that's where it gets tough because everybody's hurt. It's, oh, yeah, I heard this guy fucking 2 weeks ago or whatever. Hated him. So, you know, you're like, it's more of an uphill battle the longer you're there.
Yeah, but well, actually, it's like there's so many new mics popping up. It's actually becoming like a major comedy hub where a lot of times you do open mics, you're just in front of strangers again.
That's the dream, really. Mm-hmm. But like, I like the good old classic. Mike's been running long enough with a good enough host that people just know that this is a fun way to spend a Monday or whatever. Mm-hmm. That's my favorite mic here is McCracken's. It's in Marietta Square, and it's just like I Irish dive bar hosted by a dude who's been hosting this thing for like 2 years every single Monday. Like they don't miss a Monday unless the bar is closed, and the bar is usually not closed.
People always need to go to the bar.
Yeah, so like that's a mic where like there's regulars where you're like now you know some of the audience and you're like, okay, I'm trying to do new shit for these people because they always say they like me and they're always really nice to me. And I don't want to disappoint them by doing the same jokes they've heard me do a bunch of times, which that's like, I think, the best open mic environment.
Yep, the one that has regulars and people who are, yeah, people who know who you are, and like those good
Yeah.
out of town mics. It's sort of like tough, but it's like you can win them over. Sort of like, have you ever gone to Willie's in Minneapolis, in the Minneapolis scene?
No, Willie's was never, when it was open, was never like in my path where I could make it easily. So I never went. I used to go to Grumpy's though.
Yeah, that's another good one in Minneapolis.
Well, that closed too, right?
Yep, it got replaced by a whole bunch of condos. Two.
Of course.
Yep. Yeah, yeah. Minneapolis took like a major hit when that mic got shut down.
Yeah, I mean that was the Wednesday spot.
Mm-hmm. And that was
There's
not just the Wednesday spot. That was like the one where everyone from every clique would go through. It was sort of like the major hang of the scene.
yeah. Yeah. I feel like I don't know if I would say Atlanta has one of those. Except, I mean, Laughing Skull's the closest, but that's like a club that you have to email in and they do a mic 3 nights a week.
Ooh.
But you got to email in. So, like, you email in and you get a spot like a month out.
Okay.
Yeah. But they're running them. So, like, it's, I don't know. The closest might be Smith's probably.
All right.
Which is like, it's once again a Wednesday night room, but it's like 3 minute sets. We're putting a lot of motherfuckers up tonight.
Yep. And when did you move down to Atlanta?
So I was in North Carolina for a couple years in between leaving Minneapolis or Minnesota and heading south. That was for college, and that was a big mistake comedically because it was a small college town.
Mm-hmm.
And then I came down here for like, because I've always kind of been like, where I can work and make as much as I would, or make as much as I can, like I'll move and do a different scene. I'm kind of locked in here now, but I've always been like, yeah, wherever. So I was like, okay, I got a job that pays enough in Atlanta. I'm moving to Atlanta. That's a big scene. And I was kind of like, I'm going to settle here. And I'm like, this is where I'm going to make stuff happen because it's a big city.
Mm-hmm.
But it's kind of I'd say a little bit more of a DIY scene than a lot of the big comedy cities.
What does DEY stand for? Do it
DIY,
yourself.
DIY, yeah.
Do it yourself.
Yeah. Well, because we don't have a lot of clubs. Mm-hmm. We have the Punchline that's, a club. And then you have like Atlanta Comedy Theater, Urban Circuit. And then you have like a couple of those. And then there's Skull, which is a showcase club. And they're still building the Helium. But that's it for clubs.
Yep. And you mentioned like to get on the Skull, you have to email them in. With that system, they get like a lot of outsiders coming in to check it out.
Yeah, that's the mic. It's also a lot of people's first time.
Yep.
A lot of like fantasy football league losers, stuff like that. And then there's like this weird thing where like a lot of people who start here will start at Skull, where they'll be like, that's where I'm going to do my first set, and they'll like it, and then they'll sign up for Skull again, and then they'll wait a month, and they'll go up, and then it'll sometimes take people like 3-ish times or more before they're like, oh, there's a whole scene out here.
Yeah. Like people do the same thing in Minneapolis with Acme. They think like Acme is like the one major club and they don't check out the smaller scenes. Or that they just don't get built like a relationship with the comics where they say like, hey, here's the other spots you can hit. Does the Skull have like a star system where they put you on automatically if it's your first time?
Nope. You just got you got to email them far enough in advance. They'll give you a spot for sure, but you have to email them. And if you're coming into town, you got to do it up ahead. You got to be like give them like a month, you know.
Yep. And what day of the week do they do their open mic?
Monday through Wednesday.
All right.
Yeah, and it's an awesome room. It's like a small, I think it's like 75, 80 seats packed in there. But it's cool. In the back of a burger bar that's good.
Ooh. Sounds nice.
The worst part is it's in Midtown Atlanta, so parking is not good.
Yeah, and I also heard like the driving is really rough in Atlanta.
Oh, it's a nightmare. You have to become a different kind of driver.
Yeah. Is it as bad as LA?
I've never made it as far as LA, but like I think that there's separate types. Atlanta, I don't even know if I would say is bad driving. I would say it's aggressive driving.
Oh, you just
And if you start driving aggressively, then traffic will start to make more sense. So everybody does it. So it's just a lot of anger on the road. But I mean, there's crashes and traffic. You just kind of got to accept everything's going to take you longer than you thought it was.
okay. Major traffic jams are just like people just going super fast and like even like alley streets.
Yeah, like if you're on any major freeway in Georgia and if you're going 5 over, don't get out of the right lane. like don't get in the left lane unless you're going 10 to 15 over at least.
Right.
Because some people are really going for it. And as long as you're conscious of that and don't go below 5 over, that's the standard speed.
Yeah.
You're fine.
Yeah. Let's see. I also heard
honk. Don't ever honk.
Never honk. Is that
never
like
honk.
Will that get you beaten up in Atlanta?
People have been shot.
Oh, for honking?
That's what. So I haven't seen any news stories, but it's what a lot of people have told me.
Wow.
Is don't honk in Atlanta. And be careful in the suburbs.
Yeah.
You know, like you can probably honk at like a crappy car.
Yeah, or a kid crossing the street.
Yeah, a kid crossing the street. I honked at a truck today. It was a risky move, but I calculated it. I was in the right enough. Light was green. We both missed an entire light cycle.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yep. I also heard like yeah, speaking of honking and making noise, I heard Atlanta has like a really good black scene.
Yes. It's huge. I mean, it's at least half of what you might call, if you considered both scenes the scene, the mainstream and the urban scenes. If you considered those like one scene, it's at least half.
All right.
And I haven't been dipping my toe in as much for a little bit. So it might be bigger. I don't know.
Yeah, you don't go to the black mics?
A lot of them are farther from me.
Oh, okay.
I ended up because like I just ended up in Marietta. Like I didn't pick it. I was like, this is where the job that I'm getting is. I'm going to get somewhere close to that. And then I moved here and I'm like, this is really good access to, all the city. But like, it takes me half an hour to get downtown, which isn't bad.
Yeah.
But like, if I want to go to the other part of town, it takes me 45 minutes to an hour a lot of times.
Yeah, I did a black mic in Austin, or it seemed like a black mic. There's a lot of black people. It was a fun room to perform in.
Yeah, of course. I don't know. I feel like, and maybe this is just more the one that I went to, but it's like a lot of what I found tough about uh a couple of the rooms I've done here is like the people are technically a much better comedy audience because the mainstream rooms, if you lose the audience, they stop paying attention to you. They're like, oh, they're on their phone, they're drinking, they're eating, they're talking, they're doing whatever. If you lose an urban audience, they don't stop paying attention to you. They're just watching you actively disliking what you're doing, which is much harder to deal with personally. You know, I think that's where a lot of the reputation comes from is technically they're better audiences. You just weren't ready for that.
Mm-hmm.
Bring the good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, but I know, does Miss Pat live in Atlanta?
I thought she was in like Indianapolis.
All right.
I
I thought I
might be
heard,
wrong.
I have to do a fact check on that one. I heard she was in Atlanta.
I think she has a show based in Atlanta. She might part-time live here. Maybe she full-time does. I don't know.
I gotta check that show out. I remember when I watched her at Mall of America, she did a great show, and she talked about working on a sitcom based show, which is
Yeah.
so rare these days to have a good one.
Well, she like doubled down as like, well, we're swearing, we're we're not censoring, we're doing a show. So she's doing like HBO shit on a sitcom, which is sick. It's cool. It hasn't been done well, really. As far as I'm aware, I think Louis had an early shot at that. Like he had
Yep,
a show before.
Yep, it was called Lucky Louie.
Yeah. And
I
that was
watched.
kind of like that, right?
Yep, it was a show like if you're really into stand up comedy as an insider, you'll enjoy it, but people written off as like a commercial failure because it just didn't pick up the ratings, which it's kind of weird, like watching old shows that you really liked and being like, oh, people thought this was a failure, but I got the jokes.
Yeah, people hated this. Did you see that documentary about the Dana Carvey show?
No, I
Or do you
haven't.
remember the Dana Carvey show? Look into it. It's great because it had like this crazy all-star cast where it's like Dana Carvey coming off of SNL and Wayne's World. He's like the biggest comedy star, and he gets this show, and they're putting it on after Home Improvement, and it's a sketch show. And the opening sketch is he's dressed as Bill Clinton saying that he had additional nipples surgically attached to himself so he could feed all of the puppies and babies in America. And then he opened his shirt to a prosthetic of a bunch of nipples and started feeding puppies and baby toys with it. And that came on directly after Home Improvement. So,
Yeah, it seems like a weird show to have it on during like sitcom hours. That would be like a late night Saturday show.
but you watch it, and not all of it, but there's a fair amount of the sketches where you're like, that's fucking hilarious. And you're like, this was too far ahead of its time, probably in a lot of ways. Because it's also like Steve Carell, Stephen Colbert.
Oh, this was their earlier
Like,
roles?
yeah, like they had some big names early, and they did some like real stupid, silly sketches, and people were not ready for it
Oh,
after
is this
Home
the,
Improvement.
oh, I just remembered it. Was this the one that had like the dumb prankers?
Yeah, yeah. Where the guy pays for his food and then leaves.
Yeah, or like
And he's
pays for the
like,
gas, doesn't pump it.
yeah. Yeah, it was that show.
Yeah.
Um, the waiters who are disgusted by food. There's some fun stuff in there. But no, and it was a total bomb to the point where it's only like maybe I think 6 or 8 episodes before it got canceled.
Mhm.
And they were going to do a sponsor. Every episode was going to be sponsored by a different company. So the first week was like Taco Bell, you
Oh, they
know?
did a bunch of Taco Bell product placements.
Yeah. But like they were doing it week to week. Every week was a different company. And because it was doing so badly every week, like visibly week to week, every week the businesses got lower until I think the last one was the Chinese restaurant around the corner from where they were recording.
Wow.
Yeah. It just, but I'd say watch the documentary.
All right.
Not, don't worry about the show. If the documentary interests you, watch the show. But the documentary is going to show you all the best stuff.
Oh, like all the behind the scenes shenanigans and
Well, a lot of it is taking the people who worked on it and being like, hey, you remember this? Let's watch some of this. And
nice.
them like reacting to something they haven't seen in 20 years. And they're like, oh, I forgot about that, and telling story. Yeah, it's fun.
Yep.
It's fun.
Nice. I think we'll transition. Let's see. I want to talk about like what kind of stuff you did before you got into comedy. Like you were in the army for a little bit.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I got into comedy. I was interested in comedy as like a kid, of course, as we all were. I think everybody who gets into it probably liked it as a kid for the most part. Um, and then I joined the army right out of high school. So like there wasn't a lot of time because I started comedy during my last 2 years in the army. So like my first 2 years of comedy were in El Paso because I was stationed in El Paso. Mm-hmm. And then I came to Minneapolis and bombed there for a little while. So there's not a lot of transition from when I started.
Yeah, and also I suppose like the transition from going like one place that had like a lot of discipline to comedy where it had little incident, was that sort of like a contrast?
Well, the thing I probably hated most about the army was the discipline. And mostly the discipline about stuff that doesn't matter.
Like keeping your bunk bed straightened up, wrinkle free.
Like even that, I can kind of see like some like just general like life fulfillment and being like having all your shit straightened up. But like when we're getting to the point where you're coming through with a white glove and you're seeing if there's dust on top of my light switch cover.
Oh,
like when we're doing that, I'm upset. It got to the point where I figured out that they're going to find something no matter what. They're going to find something wrong no matter what you do. Leave something obvious because then they'll stop looking.
Oh,
yep. So I'd leave like stuff in my trash can. You're not supposed to have that during inspection. It's supposed to be empty. Ooh. So I'd like leave a couple things in my trash can. They'd yell at me about that and then move on. Mm-hmm. Get it over with.
Sounds like they were having a system where they just wanted to find something just to test your stress system.
Yeah. It's most of it. Yeah. I've been more into reading, I would say, the last few years. And I read Starship Troopers recently, which I didn't know was based on a book.
Yeah, that surprises me now. Like that movie didn't seem like it was made by a guy
who can read.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, the book is great too. But like it kind of, I feel like in a lot of ways gets like, it captures the mindset of a perfect soldier from like high school through the training into being like a perfectly indoctrinated good boy. Which is a weird perspective, but like it shows you a lot of like, oh yeah, they did shit like that to me too. And then the book, like in the book, the guy will like think through like, this is why they do that, to fuck you in this way.
All right. So what sort of like army training and Starship Troopers prepared you? I mean, what sort of like stuff in Starship Troopers prepared you for the army if you would read that before going in the army?
I wouldn't have joined.
Oh.
Yeah. No. It's a guy, he's brainwashed heavily, becomes basically a drone, and experiences a lot of horrific shit, committing war crimes the whole way through. And then that's it. That's basically the book. Like chapter 1 is basically like genocide, but fun.
Oh.
because it's from his perspective. And he's just running around to town, blowing stuff up, looking for religious or political districts to nuke.
Yeah, and the enemy was portrayed as bloodthirsty bugs.
Yeah, well, this one in the book, there's another kind of aliens that are more humanoid, and that's those ones. So he's murdering the humanoid aliens in the beginning. The bugs come into it later, but no, it's a good read. And yeah, I mean, my buddy and co-host Patrick, the bald one, he started reading the Marines. He was a Marine. He started reading through the reading list, which I'm surprised the Marines have a reading list, but they do. And he started reading it, and one of them was Ender's Game. And he credits Ender's Game with being like one of the major influences that caused him to not stay in the Marines.
Oh,
where he was like, whoa, you can't be doing that kind of shit.
What kind of chapters in Inner Games like would convince him not to join the Marines?
I mean, it's kind of all comes down to I think, for me at least, being used and not without checks and balances for atrocities. Like the people above me are morons. They control my whole life. If they tell me to commit an atrocity, I legally have to.
And it's also like the concept of like corporations and higher ups using like men as tools and like
it's all, but like I think the military is particularly I don't know, pernicious. I'm going to throw out a word that I don't know entirely. But I think that fits. It's the like lying to teenagers to get them to try and like literally you're brainwashing people. The goal of basic training is to break your personality into nothing so they can rebuild it. In my opinion, the government, at least the army, forgot how to brainwash, how to turn people into what they want. I think they lost that ability somewhere.
Yeah, well, no,
so now
today,
they're just breaking you and putting you on drugs because they fucked up your knees. So now you need opiates. And then they kick you out and they don't stop giving you the drugs. And now we have a homeless problem.
Yeah. And also, I think today it's like hard to enlist people like with so much information around people seeing, and also a lot of people with so many wars going on that the general population doesn't support.
Yeah. Well, that's good. That's how the general population stops the wars. Is by don't give them your kids to send there.
And now they're using robots.
I mean, fine. Make war battle bots. That's a good idea. Battle bots, not battle cyborgs. Robots. Okay. We've already got arenas set up for that. We can do it.
Yep, we can just.
Bro, it's not the arms race. It's not the space race. It's the battle bot race.
It's getting on like a little boxing ring, and the winner gets to have Ukraine.
Yeah, I think when the world collapses, that's what we should all do. We should just be like, all right, whoever can make the sickest battle bot gets to be the best country.
Here comes Japan.
Yeah, maybe. It probably won't be Western culture. But who knows?
Yeah, we'll see how these next few years turn out. I'll tell you what, I've been taking like a little bit of a exile from common past couple months, and boy, what a bunch of months to miss.
Dude, hate the political stuff.
Yeah.
It's just upsetting.
Right now, I'm missing out on all the comedy about all the Trump shootings and Haktua girl.
Do you have a Trump joke, a Trump shooting joke? Have you written one? I assume you've written at least one.
I added one on my autism and guns bit.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, that was sort of
Yeah.
like Legoed in, and
I started, but I didn't. I was like, this is not going to be relevant long enough for me to commit a lot of time to this joke.
oh, you didn't finish the job like that kid?
Yeah, correct. No, mine was that I think it's cool that Trump rallies have the same level of security as middle schools. Just you can just walk in with a gun.
Yeah.
But it's not the topic I want to pursue.
Mm-hmm.
Instead, I wrote a joke about how some people throw acid in people's faces in other countries. I wrote a joke about that far more relatable topic.
Yeah, and let's see, what was the reason for people throwing acid in other people's faces? Just the political disagreements?
Oh, you haven't heard about that? That's like a Middle East thing for women that drive and stuff.
Oh,
No, it's pretty brutal. Some maybe less developed parts of the world, or less what we would call, let's say, people without Christian values. Good Christian values.
yeah.
No,
Yeah,
you haven't
so,
heard about that? I'm surprised. That's okay. So maybe that joke won't work at all if you don't even know about that as something that has happened in the world.
oh, let's see, is it the putting the acid in the face like make to hinder their eyesight so they won't drive anyways?
Maybe that might be the logic, actually. If honestly, I'm gonna say, if you're gonna just like hurt somebody like that, if you're going acid in the face, I think it's because you want to see what it looks like when somebody has acid on their face. Because like in movies and stuff, it just burns right through, but you're like, there's no way it really looks like that. And this is the only chance I'm gonna get to see. All right, that got dark.
Yeah,
I hope it was. I hope it was clear I was riffing.
yeah. Yeah, and us. Let's see. Yeah, you said before you have your own podcast.
Yeah, I turned a room in my apartment into a studio. So I do my podcast, which is on hiatus currently. And I would argue becoming not technically a podcast anymore because we're getting really heavy into editing
Oh,
to the point where it's becoming more of just a show that we're putting on the internet. But that is on hiatus until we figure out the editing process better. And then I do a storytelling podcast with a friend Keegan called Finish the Story. And then I produce two others for friends. My friend Billy does one called Billy Podcast. My friend Sham does one called No Bullshit, which is a solo sports rant show he does.
ooh.
Yeah.
Yep. Can you tell me more about the Finish the Story podcast? That sounds like it has an interesting premise to it.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a pretty simple premise, but it's basically we'll have a guest on. They'll usually bring a story, maybe two if it's a short one. We will riff for 20 to 30 minutes before we touch the story. Keegan and I will then interrupt the guest consistently for more details about their story. Kind of, mine the story out, find bits in it, find like basically riff into sidetracks. But we will finish the story.
All right.
We're gonna get to the end of the story by the end of the episode.
What's a good episode to check out? Like, which one had like this? Which one had a story where you guys just went really wild with it?
Let me. So here's the thing. We have a Patreon. specifically because we both have or I have a job that I don't want to tell some stories openly on the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So pay us and you can hear some extra crazy stories. The stuff we won't talk about on the open internet. Here, let me, because here's the thing, I don't edit or upload that show at all. The other host does. So I'm gonna look back and see what some fun recent episodes that we've had are.
All right.
Give a good recommendation. Rat Condom is a fun one, episode 55.
Oh, that sounds like a condom testing company that used lab rats.
It's not as rough as you think it is off of the title, but it when it gets there, you'll get it.
Okay.
T-Boy is a fun dude. T-Boy, I remember laughing a lot.
Oh, what does
That's
the tea?
episode 51. No, tea, like drinking tea.
Oh, okay. I was thinking like
and boy with an I.
okay, I was thinking like T-bone steak.
No, T-Boy.
All right.
I don't okay. We're also starting to dip our toes in doing like paranormal true crime type shit.
Oh.
Where I will bring something to Keegan that he doesn't know about and explain it to him, and then he will do the same for me. And we're going to go back and forth, do like one of those a month, maybe, see how they go.
All right.
But I kicked that off with a dark topic. If you've ever heard of the Anthill Kids.
Anthill Kids?
Yeah. It's a French Canadian cult.
Okay.
Or was.
Sounds sort of like a group that would meet like in the underground catacombs.
No, they were called the Anthill Kids because the leader would work them so hard that it was said they were working like an anthill.
Wow.
Yeah. And
Sounds
that
like
was the nicest thing that guy did to them.
Just work them super hard.
That was the nicest thing that guy did to them. It's like I stress tested the concept of bringing like true crime shit to the podcast by doing the grossest true crime story I've ever looked into. It's like at one point this guy amputates a lady's arm with a meat cleaver, and to make sure she doesn't move, before that he stuck her hand to the table with a hunting knife.
Ooh, just giving like, hey, this is a preview of what's going to happen.
That's not the worst thing he did. He gets into a few amateur surgeries.
Ooh.
And he drinks a lot, and he's real mean a lot of the time.
That sounds, at least with other cults, they started like lure you in with being fun and inclusive, sort of like improv comedy.
Yeah, well, he like lured him in first, but like he lured in extremists in an extremist sect. Like it was like he got into the Seventh-day Adventist church, started building stuff. I'm sorry, I'm turning your podcast into this other podcast. But no, he broke off with a chunk of people, and that dwindled until eventually it was just the people who were really going to stay through anything.
Wow.
But yeah, I mean, we'll see. My plan is that if I don't make it in comedy by like a certain point, I'm just going to pivot into cult leader.
Yeah, that's comedy, being a performer on stage is going to help you, teach you like skills how to be a cult leader. Just learn how to work a room, win them over, and deal with dissenters.
Yeah, that's what I figure. And I might even go like give people acid but don't take it, because then you can really just wig somebody out and make them think whatever, you know.
Oh, this is some holy wine or holy bread. It'll make you see things.
Yeah, exactly. Correct.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm if If comedy doesn't work out, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to start a cult, and then we will be killed by the ATF.
Yeah.
That's the plan, Kelly.
All
That's
right.
my dead by 65 plan. If I want to go past that, I need to make it in comedy.
Yeah. Well, even if you do, there are people who still make it a comedy and who still don't have the money.
No, I don't even need, I just want to make my living doing comedy. Like, I don't
Mhm.
want to have to do another job. That's
Yeah.
the goal.
Yeah, I know. I hear you. Like in the past, like 3 years, I've been through 7.
Ugh. I've found one I'm pretty lucky with where it gives me a lot of freedom with scheduling.
Mhm.
So I've been doing pretty good. I've been pretty happy with that lately, the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's been tough trying to find a good job with like a good comedy schedule, and that's also like tough, like going through the interview process saying like, well, this is yeah, I'm just using you guys for revenue in my
Yeah.
other business, and
It's
and
weird how companies don't understand that yet.
Mhm.
They're like, it's a family. It's like, look, I get it that back in the day, what men did was leave their families and then go to their work family. Like, I
Mhm.
get that's what they would do. And then they would work with their work family all the time and neglect their real family. That's not really the model anymore. We're just trying to get your money. we we are willing to exchange services for your money. We don't need to go past that. Why does there have to be another motivation?
Mhm. With so much automation these days, like traditional jobs just going out the window, and
Yeah, I mean, well, maybe not as fast. I mean, the self checkouts things seem to be a nightmare for companies long term.
Mhm. Well, because like machines, they can run smoothly, but they don't self-correct like humans do.
Well, and it's so easy to steal.
Mhm.
Like, I don't steal, but the amount of times that I've been sitting there just like I could steal this like nothing.
Oh yeah, especially like one of those kiosks where they just have everything laid out and you just scan. Like I know they where I work, they have this like little snack area where it's just like everything's just laid out, and I don't know. I haven't tried to steal anything in there, but I imagine if somebody wanted to, they just take something and walk away, or just maybe something would beep.
Yeah, I mean, but what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
It's gonna beep and you're gonna look up and be like, ah, shit. Yeah, I don't know. I feel I have like a thing inside of me about stealing. I don't like doing it. It makes me stressed out to do it, you know?
Yeah.
Like, this Snickers bar is not worth me being freaked out for the next 15 minutes.
Yeah. It's if you got to steal something, you got to steal big.
Yeah. Yeah, like a TV.
Yeah. Or
You,
like,
you need to
like,
heist a bank. If you're going to steal, you might as well heist the Bellagio.
mhm.
You might as well go full Ocean's 11, rob a casino.
Yeah. You don't want to be the guy going into prison for a Snickers bar.
No. You want to be the guy that doesn't make it very far at a Vegas heist because you don't have any friends.
Mhm.
If you had to pull together in a crew in Vegas, how many people could you get?
Yeah. I got to work on my networking.
Yeah, I think I could get four, maybe.
Mhm.
And some of those are going to have a drive.
Yeah. But like a small crew can be effective. Like, I
I
like how I
mean,
started this kind of thing, Comcast, and now we're planning a bank heist.
well, yeah,
Well, that usually happens with some people doing comedy because they don't make any money doing it.
yeah. Well, I'm doing the cult thing. That's my plan.
All right.
I'm working on your back out plan.
Yeah, I think I might take. I think my backup plan is just going into advertising.
Now you should just become Trevor from GTA 5.
I gotta start watching those movies.
That is a video game.
Oh, I was thinking about Fast and Furious. I got that confused with that.
Oh, you don't need to start. I mean, you can start watching those. Just know that they're dumb, but they're fun.
Mm-hmm. I remember when the first I remember going to my friend's house when he had the first GTA, and that was back when people were taking video game violence super seriously, thinking like people saying
Yeah.
like, "Oh, this will turn you into a criminal," but then later studies reveal like, "No, this is just squeezing the juice out of boys' aggression, where they're less likely to do it."
Yeah. I mean, who you can't even really quantify something like that, you know?
Mm-hmm.
You like it's an inquantifiable fact. It's like saying God doesn't exist. It's like you can't prove it either way. Why why try to rule other people about something that nobody can definitely find evidence for
Right.
or proof of?
Yeah, but sometimes religion gives people like a purpose or like a compass to follow, and
Yeah. And that's not like a religious rant. It's just like, does God exist? Does God not exist? Like there's really only two schools of thought on that, you know? Where video games, do they cause violence? Do they not cause violence? Equally, both of those things you can't really prove like that. There's not really a way to measure that, you know? I'm just equating it to another question that you can't know the answer to.
yeah, and if we do, people are still not going to believe it because people stick with their beliefs.
Yeah. Confirmation bias and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
And the social media and the internet definitely makes bubbles.
Yep. Because
I've I've just made my bubble out of comedy and puppies.
oh, nice. Do you have any puppies right now? Is that like your side hobby?
No, I love dogs, but I don't have like the time to train a puppy. I just can't do it. Cause like it's tough with comedy. Like you have to get back to your dog. Like I live alone. I have to get back to my dog. I do not have a choice. And sometimes maybe I want to go to that extra mic later.
Yep. And
Most of the time I don't.
also be tough having a pet, especially do a lot of road work.
Yeah.
I think but then again, that's why some comics have a cat that just keep them in the house and turn on like the automatic feeder.
Yeah. But I don't trust cats.
Yeah.
Because they want to murder you at all times. And I refuse to live in an adversarial household.
Yeah. And dogs give you automatic love.
Yes. If I'm
Yeah.
buying a pet, it's because I want love.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because I want something that I have to win over. I'll find a girlfriend if I want that.
Yeah. But then I had this conversation with Corey Adam once time. He said like cats are better pets because they make you earn their love.
That is looking for a different kind of pet.
Mm-hmm.
I want a pet that loves me. That's and if you're gonna make me work, what kind of that's why cats are free.
And also, I think like,
and that's why you pay for dogs because they love you.
mm-hmm. But I think like if you want to have a girlfriend, you should probably have a cat first because they'll prepare you for that experience.
Nah. What, having scratches on me at all times?
Or just like loving something that doesn't quite love you back, or just something that only wants you for your resources, the food.
Dog, I will fight a cat.
I
will swing on that little motherfucker as soon as he disrespects me.
No, like if you want to get ready for a boyfriend, you buy a dog where you just have someone that'll just love you so much and tries to lick you all the time.
Nah, I don't need a cat or a girlfriend. Single Trent forever. We're fucking riding this thing into the ground.
Yep. Going your own way.
Yeah, that's what you could say.
Yep. That's what a lot of guys are doing these days.
Yeah, because why Why get a cat? Why get something that you have to gaslight into loving you? You have to convince your cat that it loves you, right?
Yep. And it's also have you ever, when I was working for a moving company, we had to go to a couple places where people were right after getting divorced.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And just seeing some of those guys going into like their own apartment after getting divorced, it was so depressing.
Yeah. That's a gamble that I don't feel like taking.
Yeah.
But I don't know. That's just me. And I think we've established pretty well on this podcast. I'm pretty weird. Bit of an odd dude, some might say.
Yeah. But we meet a lot of people like that in comedy. It's just,
yeah.
Like once you start doing stand-up open mic comedy, your life just turns into a comic book.
It's just everybody, it's so much mental illness. Mm-hmm. And it's everywhere and it's varied. That's the fun of it, is that like you don't know, like you meet a new comic and you're like, which kind of mental illness is this one? Mm-hmm. You know, and then you're kind of trying to piece it together.
Yep. And I think it's pretty much like I think that most people are mentally ill. It's just like when we were young, like part of the job of being a parent is shielding kids from all the craziness. Because if you were supposed to like the craziness you experienced as comedy as a kid, you would just be broken down.
Yeah. But you also, it's weird because there's the trade-off. You can't overshield. I was a little bit overshielded in some ways.
Yep, same here.
Which I mean, it's not the worst, but like I feel like being sheltered and then convinced to join the military is kind of a dick move.
Yes.
Because you're really not ready for that. Like,
oh yeah, it's so funny. Weird. That's another thing that's weird. Seeing like all these sensitive, like super religious people, these clean cut families supporting like trying to talk these young men to going into these.
Yeah. That's how you make one of these. That's how this happens, is by being very sheltered and then showing up at a place where somebody doesn't talk nice to you for the first year. Mm-hmm. You're like, this is horrible. God, what do you mean? God wouldn't. This guy lives in a house and I live in a room with 50 dudes. God doesn't exist.
Yes.
And it's crazy. Like I've kind of recently, I guess, come to terms with I guess the fact that everybody who goes through the military has PTSD. Mm-hmm. Everyone. Like I guess I didn't realize like basic training is enough. And I realized it last week when I woke up over a decade after I've been out of the military, after having like, I woke up scared because I had a dream that I was in processing to go back to basic.
Ooh.
And then I woke up from that dream, like, because, you know, you got to go down in a dream to come back up. Mm-hmm. I woke up because I passed out from a panic attack waiting in a line. So I was in a dream, like in processing to basic training. And then I started freaking out and had a panic attack and then woke up. I'm like, oh, that's what PTSD is, I think. Is 10 years after something to dream about it and have it wake you up in fear. Didn't think about that. I was just like, oh no, that's just a thing. That just happens, right? Mm-hmm.
Just getting those repressed memories, just seeping back.
Yeah. And the worst part about the dream, maybe, arguably, is the person who was in it with me. Because in a dream, a lot of time, especially from like a time, like a dream that's like associated with like a period in your life, a person from that period will be there. And the one that was there for me in that dream was not the person I would have wanted to see.
Who?
ugh, it was just, you're just like this guy, and he's all like gung ho, happy to go back to basic.
Oh, one of those guys.
So well, in the dream.
Mhm.
So he's like, yeah, we're gonna get to do the gas chamber again, and I'm like, no, no, no.
Oh, the worst dreams I get is like getting those ones where I'm thinking I'm working back at McDonald's.
That'll give you PTSD just as much, I think.
Especially
I
with dealing with,
assume.
well, just especially with that rush hour, and just
Yeah, you're
I remember
slammed.
getting burnt on the grill.
Oof.
I think that's pretty equal to Army PTSD.
Yeah, it's probably about the same
And
from the baseline anyway.
people,
Because like some people experience much worse things in the military. I'm just talking about the base level we all got. Like we all got a little bit of PTSD. We
Mhm.
didn't all get it like fireworks scare us, but we all got it like something get like I didn't walk on grass for probably 2-3 years after I got out
Yeah,
because
it's
you're
part
not allowed to walk on grass in the military. You can't do it. If you walk on grass, you will be fucked.
walk on grass, like tall grass.
Any grass. Any grass. You can never walk across a lawn. You cannot walk on grass.
Does that seem like a sign of disrespect for like the building, or just like
Yep.
getting shit on your
That's
shoes?
exact. It's no, it's disrespect for the building. It's disrespect for the property. So for like 2 or 3 years, I didn't think about it. I just wasn't walking on grass. And then one day somebody's like, no, let's go this way. And I was like, what? And as I stepped onto it, I was like, oh, I'm allowed to do this now.
Yeah, it's trying to get that programming out.
Yeah. And it takes a long time.
Yeah, I suppose like after you leave the army after, I think, is it sort of like when you go leave your parents for the first time, or you get used to those being in so much high discipline, and you go back to civilian life, and it's just like, what do I do now?
I mean, there's some of that for sure. But I think that that's what I needed. I do better when I'm writing my own schedule.
Mhm.
Like I'm doing better without like people overbearing me. Like if I can relax, I'm going to do the best of whatever I'm doing. And that's an environment where they very specifically want you to be on edge always.
All right.
And I got mad a lot.
All right. Well, I think we're almost at the hour mark, or been talking for a while, and
Oh yeah, we might be over an hour. Where are we at?
yeah.
Can I see it on my end?
I don't know. I was just looking at the clock when I started. It was, I think we started at 7.
Yeah, we're over an hour.
Nice.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I liked
No,
where this podcast went. We started with comedy, and then we went into the cult leaders and throwing acid in faces, and we just
I don't podcast like I'm not big on like let's pick a topic and go. I'm like let's riff around. Let's just like play off what I say. I'll play off what you say. We'll see where we end up.
yeah, I'm still working on doing that in just like regular conversations, like trying to learn how to navigate and go with the feel. Like when I did a practice round before this podcast. We're just saying like, okay, we'll just wing it and just see what we come up with, and that was just a total disaster.
Yeah. My podcast is basically what happens if you do that for 2.5 years and then start trying to edit that to make it good.
Yep, it's just learning like a new form of comedy, just trying to
Yeah.
get your bearings straight, get your muscles flexed, and get your instincts developed.
It's made me quicker on stage. It's good.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Do you have anything coming up?
Oh, uh, unless you have anybody in Georgia, I don't have anything on the road booked right now. Yeah, check out Trent's Unnamed Podcast. Check out Finish the Story podcast. check out Billy podcast, check out No Bullshit with Sham Wilkins. They're all fun. I know at least the first two are only on YouTube. I think the other two are on Spotify also.
All right. Go check that out. And yeah, and keep on trying to think of a way to
Trent Ludzack on Instagram.
Oh yeah, check that out.
All one word, all spelled exactly the way I said it.
Yep, just your straight name. There's no other Trent Ludzacks out there.
No, it's the nice thing about having a weird last name.
Yeah, I gotta. Well, there's another more famous Kelly Berger out there.
Damn.
Yeah, and
that's the worst. Name change. Kelly Hamburger. Kelly Cheeseburger. Dude, Kelly Cheeseburger. You tell me that doesn't ring?
Or like Kelly Beef Burger. I know some people have said with my autism, they should go by the stage name Kelly Asperger's.
I mean, you could.
I know
that's not politically correct now. It really would lean into the Austin scene.
Yeah. Yeah. They love to go for the cross the line just for the sake of crossing the line.
Dude, I didn't realize the F word was back like that in Austin. Because you cannot say that around here.
Mm-hmm.
But they're doing it.
Yeah. And that's what another thing I liked about the Austin scene is sort of like they treated their open mics like an open mic. Like they know this is like a place of practice and rehearsal, and it sucks like going to like smaller scenes and people treating like an open mic like it's a showcase, saying like, oh, this is a finished product, so he failed badly, so we'll stop him from putting shows because of that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, the bookers typically, I think, are usually people who book have been in it long enough to understand that you shouldn't, unless you see somebody crush on an open mic with new stuff, that's a good indicator. But like, you can't take somebody bombing at an open mic against them. Mm-hmm. It's what they're for.
Yep, it's practice.
Thinking up that skin a little bit.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm glad we're giving like this podcast like the traditional Minnesota goodbye.
That's the game. Yep. You can stop recording whenever.
All right, and I will do it right now. Berger out. Did I hit the right button?